This program was brought to you by Organo Gold. Organo Gold is a health and wellness company that provides healthy coffees, teas, and chocolate. All one has to do is consume the available products to get all the available benefits. One can also share these products with others to help them improve their health as well. For more information, call 703-359-5642 or visit the website basilelemba.com.
And now, Fairfax Breakfast Club with your host, Besile Lemba.
Welcome to the Fairfax Breakfast Club show. My name is Besile Lemba and I will be your host. The Fairfax Breakfast Club is a weekly program in which we bring to you valuable and workable know-how you can use to improve your networking skills and grow your business. Our guest today has a fabulous job of helping nonprofit organizations raise money and has done so for 35 years. Pretty much all types and all sizes of organization. We always start the show with a quote. And today's quote is actually from an unknown author. And it is, "We don't work in nonprofit sector, we work in the for change sector." So our guest today is Charles. Hello, Charles.
How are you, Basil?
Good, how about you?
Good, thanks.
Very glad to have you on the show because we never had somebody like you, actually, doing what you do. So give us a little bit about your background, Charles.
Well, you know, if you ask 10 people in the nonprofit world what they wanted to be when they grew up, 9 would have not said a nonprofit executive. and that's the way it is. A lot of times we fall into this role of nonprofit. I have a science degree, and actually an associate's degree in ocean technology, and then a Bachelor of Science in general science. I was doing chemistry for Revlon for 7 years. I had a good friend that said, "Why don't you try this? Why don't you get into the nonprofit world?" And I started as a fundraising capital campaign consultant, which, if you know capital campaigns, these are the big campaigns that you run for a new addition to a hospital or a library for a university or a new church. You go into an organization, you set up the organization for a campaign. You have a goal of $500,000, $1 million, $10 million. You raise that large capital goal, and then you're out of there. So for 15 years, I was a capital campaign consultant. When you do that, when you run those kinds of campaigns, you do everything that's required in a fundraising organization from start to finish. You are recruiting leaders, you're training those leaders, you're writing the materials, you're designing the materials, you're getting the communications out, you're doing the fundraising, you're hosting the events, all in this very intensive 10-week, 3-month, 2-year program that you've got for an organization. So that was very rewarding to me. Doing that, I really, really enjoyed it. A lot of traveling, though. So I started having kids, getting married, having kids, and moved down here with my last consulting company. I was up in the New York area.
Okay.
With a consulting company out of New York City. I was working in Toronto and across Canada. Worked internationally for 2 years with that consulting company, moved down here with another one. About a year later, I jumped into the association and nonprofit world in DC. And that's huge down there. So I managed, for the next 15 years, I managed associations, a couple of medical associations and their foundations, and not the associations themselves, but their charitable foundations.
Got it. Okay.
And again, that was different. So it's a little bit like church fundraising. You know where your donors are going to be right in front of you. So did that for 15 years. But what that gave me, I mean, I had all of this fundraising experience from the first 15. But the second 15 gave me was the managerial experience. Okay. How to work with a board, how to develop a board, how to recruit, hire staff, how to develop that staff, how to develop the culture of fundraising in an organization to make it run properly. And that's why a lot of times when a nonprofit comes up to me and says, "Oh, you do fundraising, can you help us?" Well, yes, I can help with the fundraising. I mean, I've done that. I can write the letters, I can run the events, I can do the face-to-face asks and write the material for that. But a lot of times, in order to do good fundraising, you've got to look in the back room to see what's not running well. And if the board is not developed well, if you don't have the right mix and matrix of board and leaders or volunteers, if the staff are not coordinated and not working their jobs well, no matter how good things are on the front end, it's going to break down once you get to the donor, which is really kind of the end of the tip of the spear where you want to be. So I like to come in and assess what's happening or not happening with the organization, and then take a look at how to better their fundraising, working on that, working on this, bringing both those together.
Gotcha. So that's what your business is now, lead to success?
Correct.
Got it.
Again, it's not just a fundraising company. I like to, as I said, go in and really assess what the organization is doing. Take a look at their plan. Do they really have a plan? Everyone says they do. A lot of times.
It may be in their mind. Not that it's wrong. It's just that it's only
either
in their mind.
or it's on the shelf. I mean, it's still sitting there on the desk.
Or more important, is it being done?
Correct.
Practice or whatever.
Right. Is it implemented? And is it being implemented correctly? And what can we do to tweak that, or what do we need to do to tweak that in order to make the message going out to the community the best it can be?
No, that's not. You're right, because I read that somewhere some administrator, good administrator wrote. They say you earn the money, you collect the money, but you earn it when you deliver the service.
Right.
In today's world, there is a heavy concentration on marketing and everything else. But it doesn't matter how much good your marketing is. If the product behind that's not good, you will not last.
Well, that's it. And for a nonprofit, the product are the programs that they're implementing in the community.
Yes.
And one of the tough things about that is they might be very good programs, but you have to make sure that you communicate that message well and keep the donor informed. That's kind of what I'm looking at now. You've heard of the crowdfunding that's going on.
It's coming big time right now.
It is huge. I mean, that's going to probably be the next kind of telemarketing. And before telemarketing, there was direct mail, which was the newest thing in the fundraising scene. Crowdfunding, they said, in the next 10 years will become a $90 to $95 billion industry. So it's got to be part of an organization's toolbox. Strategy, correct. But again, like everything else, it has to be done properly. And at the end of the day, you've really got to report back to your donors how things are happening. Because at the end of the day, what you want those donors not to just give to you once. You want them to become over and over and become part of your family. And it's only when that happens, when a donor's been giving over the course of 5, 7, 10 years, then you can start to get to the crown of the fundraiser, the jewel of the fundraising crown, and that's planned giving.
Oh.
And see, that's where the real sustainability for an organization comes in.
Got it.
That once they have these donors that have been giving over a period of time, and it doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, $100 a year, $20 a month kind of thing. But as long as you have that consistency and continuity, those become the donors that really have bought into the nonprofit, into the programs that you, and then you need to treat them like diamonds. Never mind gold, let's go to the diamonds. And like diamonds, you have to take care of them and make sure that they are where you need them to be.
That's very, very interesting. I don't think that a lot of organizations understand that the point of planned giving, I think, is much more like, I used to call it the militia. What can we do behind it right now?
Right.
As opposed to having a strategy and then going into that. And then you're correct, yes, really the donors need to be treated extremely well.
I don't blame nonprofit executives. I mean, what they bring to the organization, what board members hopefully bring to the organization, is the passion. You get an individual that'll set up a nonprofit for a reason. There are children that are suffering. There's a group in the community that are suffering. There's a building that needs to be built. That passion has them really focused kind of on the day-to-day activities. But like any business, any small business, you have to plan, you have to see into the future. That's where the real visionaries and nonprofits come in. It could be a board member, it could be the original developer of the nonprofit, but you need to get that vision. You need to have that plan that looks out more than just next month's annual event, more than just that mailer in 3 months. You really got to begin to look at first a year-long plan where all of these things happen on a monthly basis in succession, and then you have to take that 3 years out and ask the question, where do we want to be in 3 years? Ask the question, what happens if somebody gives us a check for $100,000 or $500,000 right now? What would we do with it? And it's that kind of planning and vision that you need to always have in order to keep that nonprofit kind of fresh and that drive going. Sometimes it's there, sometimes you need to help it get there.
Yeah, I think it's somebody comes with an idea, whatever it is, he has it, and he may necessarily not even have the understanding that you have. They may have, I see people suffering, I want to do something about it, but how do we get to really achieve the end goal? What would it take to get there?
Right. We see, and that's one of the, not concerns that I have, but one of the big differences is between the business end, or the business side of things, and the nonprofit side of things. A business would look at that kind of an investment as a good investment, and they would plan money to probably bring in consultants or bring in business managers to take a look at their payroll systems or their processing systems or even staff development. Nonprofits, they never see that, many don't see that as an investment. They're really focused on raising that money and getting those programs out to help the people that they are targeting. So as a result, all of that kind of planning and investing gets lost. They can get so far on the passion and the initial programming, but unless you kind of step back and say, wow, we've got to spend some money, or we've got to invest in our staff, in our benefits, in the processes and the way we roll these programs out. Unless you slow down and take a look at those strategies that are needed, you kind of hit a wall. And the next thing you know, you're losing staff, you're losing board members, and these are the people, these are the volunteers that you can't lose, because they're the ones that make things go.
Pretty much just like you got to have vision. I mean, there was a quote in the Bible that says, "Man without vision will perish." Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, it is vision. And every nonprofit has that vision. What they have to do is they kind of have to capture it. It has to become part of the culture. A lot of times the vision is just in the founder's mind. Whether he or she can translate that to his or her staff or the board is another thing. The document that really helps that to happen, the case for support, that's what we call it in the industry. It's almost the business plan on the business side of it.
It's called what, a case for support?
Case for support. It's amazing how many times I will go into a nonprofit, and the first thing I will say to them is, "Let me see your case for support."
Everybody goes blank.
They say, "Yeah, we have a case. We have a brochure here, and we wrote up this grant." This grant request here, and that has all of the things.
And they give you the case number the lawyer has?
That's right. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But this case for support, and I've written 3 of those now just in the last 7 or 8 months for organizations because they didn't have them. I mean, they have all the information there, but it's not in this comprehensive document that they can use to be working off the same page, to have the same language from brochure to brochure, from annual report to annual report. And there's another thing, the annual report. Sometimes it's a piece of paper, and that's okay if they have that. A lot of times they don't even have the piece of paper for an annual report. But it's all about being able to communicate that vision that you talked about to your donors and your potential donors.
Let me ask you, Charles, but where do they find in a case for support? Is there some kind of document, template they can find?
It's a document. I mean, you can go online and find out how to write a case for support. There are different chapters.
And let me just ask you this, just so I fully understand. What is case of support? Would we say that it is the business plan for a non-profit organization?
That's probably the best way to explain it. If you're talking to probably board members and they say, what is a case? Usually an executive of a nonprofit that's been in the industry for a while understands what a case for support is. But you have to write it so that it is compelling, but that it has all of the information about the nonprofit, where it's going, what it's doing, why it's doing it, the programs it's doing now, the programs it might look to do in the future. All of that gets combined in this very large document, 10 pages, 20 pages, 50 pages sometimes. You use that case then to develop your brochures, to develop your request letters. That one document, all the things get pulled out so the language never changes. So the ideas, it's like telephone. You tell me something, I tell somebody else. By the time it gets around, the message has gotten different ways, different means. So that case for support really keeps everybody on target. And it's a document that you should be able to, like the strategic plan, refer to all the time.
That is very, very important and very fundamental.
Exactly.
Because, I was listening to one of the successful person who made a statement on TV, which was very funny to me. He said, well, good business is after 5-6 years after that, you need something new. I'm like, okay. I mean, I guess it's... Well, there's a, by the way, in preparation of the show, everybody's convinced that I don't prepare for the show, but that's not true. But I read a quote from Tom Brokaw where he says, making a buck is easy, but making a difference is something else.
Yeah.
And I believe that is true. But to get back to what we're talking about is, if somebody is thinking that after 6 or 7 years they got to go fresh, you bet the case of support is not there.
Yes.
Or a business plan is not there.
Well, right.
You get what I'm saying? Because it struck me very strangely. They must not have, I mean, it's fine. That's what we're talking about. This is a business person. All he's interested in the book. While everybody started about it, it's the time to grab it. After 6 or 7 years, it says die. I'm like, how could that be? Meaning there is nothing further. There's no vision. There is no case of support. There is no something else.
Right. And again, they are focused on these programs or that they are raising money for and initiating, and they sometimes forget that they have to look out 2, 3, 4 years.
And you have to. One of the things that is one of the entrepreneurs I admire the most in the country is Lee Iacocca. And I read his biography. And you think about it, Lee Iacocca in his book, he was thinking, when he was running Ford, he was talking about where Ford will be 10 to 15 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's what he was working on. And he's go out to lunch with the engineer to start discussing the car of the 10, 15 years
out. Yeah.
And to me, it's almost shocking because if you look at the country as a whole, I'm not saying change the whole country, but our president is 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Ford is a small company within the United States. The CEO of Ford is thinking about where would we be 10, 15 years from now.
Right.
Well, the president of the country is thinking, where will we be 4 years from now?
Right. And already he's just thinking 2 years out because after
the next
that
election.
He's got a next election coming up.
So right there, you have, again, don't accuse me from changing the laws of, but it is tricky.
It is.
It's really tricky. A big account is tricky. It's like trying to turn a boat in 4 years. You can't turn a boat.
Right.
it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, and that's where good board members can help a nonprofit.
You are correct.
I mean, they come in, again, the staff, the executive director, even the founder might be so focused on what's happening now and getting things to work, but it's the board member that can come in and she can take a fresh look and say, wow, you know, if we need to be here, or if you're trying to do that now, then we need to be out here in 5 years. What are we going to do in order to be ready to do that? And again, that kind of vision and planning then directly relates to the fundraising that you need to do. So again, coming back to me and my expertise on both sides, yes, I can do the fundraising, but what is it that you're fundraising for? What is the vision that you need?
You're right, because it's like trying to salesman go and sell a car, but he never seen the car and he doesn't know how it runs.
Right.
It would be difficult for him to sell unless he has a good reality on the car and he's good, is convinced, he see from his viewpoint that it's a good car. A salesman who have seen the car and try it and then say, oh my God, this is good, it's not the same as the one who I'm supposed to sell the car. How does it look like? I don't know. Talking about two different people.
Right. Right. And again, that's all part of a nonprofit's message and the communication and the marketing that they need to do.
And easily the founder and people who work there are so wrapped up into the day-to-day.
That's what always happens, especially, again, with a nonprofit, resources are limited. You know, the dollars are limited. Everybody, well, it's getting to be like that in the business world too. Everybody in a nonprofit does 2 and 3 different things. So you really have to have somebody at the CEO or the president level or on the board that can make sure that things are getting looked at out there in the future.
So from what I'm getting, planning is very fundamental in these activities.
It is. Every nonprofit executive will tell you that. Oh, they know that, but
they won't do it. They grow up into the day-to-day.
They put it off, right? Or if they do the planning, it's a plan that listen. That we spent the whole weekend on a retreat developing this plan. That's great. And 6 months down the line, are they really following it? Are they using it to continue to develop their programs and to develop their fundraising needs and goals? That's always the question that I ask. And sometimes, a lot of times, you get a blank stare.
It probably take also, after they done that, they went to that beautiful retreat and everybody had some gorgeous food and discussion was good.
Right.
You need a supervisor or maybe set some targets.
Right.
And somebody making sure this thing is running. I think, I'm just discussing, I think that the founder or the executive has to be very smart and they've got to be open to understanding that factor, because otherwise all that work will never lead to anything.
Right. You can, if the director can't do that, sometimes you can bring somebody in to help you do that, and they work on a day a month kind of basis with you, or they can coach. I've been coaching some executives just to continue to get them to see where this nonprofit is going and to kind of look above the crowd occasionally, take a breath and look to see where they're headed. So
that's definitely important, because from my viewpoint, I've worked for a nonprofit organization for 10 years. I would say the way I see it, nonprofit as the one who keep up the channel together for the rest of it to move up.
Yep.
Keep the channel in place so life can go. Without nonprofit, would be a heck of a statement. I tell that to people. When you go to nonprofit, of course, because they're not necessarily into, not that they shouldn't be solvent, but that's not really generally the main goal. As we mentioned at the beginning, there is a cause that they are working toward.
Right.
A condition they would like to improve something, or whatever the case may be. I said I worked 10 years in nonprofit organization, then I came into the commercial world, and one thing was shocking to me. In a non-profit organization, you couldn't get the people out to go home. It took literally 10 people to turn off the light. There's no light, go home.
Now that's dedication and passion.
You get what I'm saying? But then what shocked me, because I worked there for 10 years, and you come into a commercial, everybody's like, hello.
Yeah.
This other guy was not being paid. This one is paid, and this one looking at the clock. And I say it because there is a guy, they just built a statue for him at the mall in DC. I think about 168, how many millions was put in that statue. His name is Martin Luther King. When I'm talking to people to get the point across of value, there's another guy named Bill Gates. He's about worth $176 billion. But it's very doubtful that Bill Gates will have the statue at the mall in DC.
Right, and why is that?
Because, as Tom Booker said, making a buck is easy.
Yeah.
Making a difference is another story.
Right. Right. Right, buying staff is easy. Empowering staff with a vision is not.
It's another whole other story.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why I love the industry. I mean, you know, I was in the corporate world there for a while, enjoying that. Tried this, and I guess 35 years later, I'm still doing it and helping others to do it better.
That's truly, truly where it's at. Charles, thank you very much for coming.
Basil, thank you very much.
I hope this was not hurtful enough. Folks, before we close out over here, I just want to remind you that check our website at blnbc.com to see our monthly breakfast event data. And also we have an expo coming on November 6th from 8 a.m. to 2 o'clock. We still have room for that for exhibitors, sponsors, and say nothing for the guests. Our shows run on Cox Channel 10 3 times a week, on Tuesday at 9 o'clock, and on Wednesday right after midnight, and on Saturday at 2 o'clock. So you can check them out, and you can also see on our website, blnbc.com, all the different shows. We have over 120 shows down there for you to review. They'll give you valuable information, just like we just got here with Charles, and you can see this is information that can be easily, I dare say, life-changing. I thank you very much for tuning. We're looking forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, have a very productive day. Bye-bye.
For more information, call 703-359-5642 or visit the website basilelemba.com.